Hi, everyone. Shannon here, and welcome back. We had the opportunity not long ago to sit down with the owner of Trails End Restaurant and Taphouse here in Snohomish. And what a delight. Chris is not only a fun interview, but you're going to love his story. Um, Many people will often kind of grow up within an industry and then blossom into becoming a leader. Others will really have to go out into the world and try different things before they really find their calling. And Chris is one of those guys. You're gonna enjoy learning about him and kind of the meandering road that he took to becoming a restaurateur, and the team that he has assembled over at Trails End and at John's Grill over in Mulkilteo is extraordinary. We hope you enjoy. Well, Chris, I so appreciate you joining me just to sit down and visit a little bit. When you and I first met, you touched on some things that I thought were super interesting. And I hope you don't mind, but we'll kind of go back and look at that again.
Yeah.
Probably be some, a little more detail to that.
Okay.
The people who tend to follow us and want to listen to this are hyper local. They live right in our community, and the purpose of this is to give them an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, because at the end of the day, people shop from, they buy, they do business with other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I understand the brand building thing. That's super important for people, especially entrepreneurs. But the truth of the matter is, these are people we do life with,
Yeah,
right?
our
So
neighbors.
we just want them to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
So appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go back a little bit. I mean, you haven't always been a restaurateur, someone who owns a restaurant and runs and manages people. Give a little insight into your background, kind of what the genesis is of Chris Shirley.
Boy, good question, really.
Yeah.
A lot of different jobs over the years.
Sure.
Working with my hands, construction, some fabrication, working on cars. I did a little bit of concrete finishing early on. I worked at a dairy, making ice cream and cleaning milk crates, and worked in a sheet metal shop for a little while.
Sure.
Spent almost 10 years doing some pretty high-end car audio installation.
Yep.
Things of that nature that just gave me a really wide range of experiences. Always had a passion for food and cooking. It kind of runs pretty deep in my family, especially
Wow.
on my dad's side.
Okay.
So in 08, 09, during the housing crisis and
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
got laid off twice in 2 years from the car audio industry. It had just taken a real big decline,
Wow.
and said, I'm gonna go do something else. So I was able to go back to school and get my associate's degree for culinary arts in about 18 months. Really hammered down and powered through all of that.
Do you think that variety of different work that you did, kind of trying to, I don't know if you were intentional about trying to figure out what you were looking for as far as a career, or if you were just keeping yourself busy, earning some money? Talk a little bit about that. The reason I asked the question is because, every business owner that I talk to is looking for people to grow their business. But yet, young people are looking for work.
Yeah.
So if employers need talent, need people, and people want to work, it appears to me, at least, that there's a bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. It's hard to define what it is. I'm certainly no expert in that.
Sure.
For me growing up, it started out with I just need a job. Just want to get out and be busy and make my own money, and not have to ask my parents for this or that. And as I went through, it took me a long time to figure out, but I realized that everything that I did, I was creating something, building something, fabricating something, and leaving somebody with something, right? You know, when I was finishing concrete, I could drive by a driveway that I poured or finished and said, you know, I did that, and it's still beautiful in 20 years, and hopefully that homeowner is enjoying their driveway.
Sure.
Or, you know, build an incredible car audio system for somebody and watch their face when they drive away, volume at max, you know, just absolutely loving what it was.
Yeah.
And for many years, I thought it was about me doing that and getting the enjoyment out of what I created. And it wasn't, come to find out that it wasn't the creation or the build, even though I enjoy all of that tremendously. It was what I left the person who bought it.
A deliverable.
Yeah, it was it was how it made that person feel.
Sure.
So it really kind of changed the perspective on what was valuable to me. I think money became a little less valuable. You know, that drive to just go earn. But instead, kind of finding that intrinsic piece of why, you know, why do I really want to get up in the morning? It's not for a paycheck. It's to feel good about what you've done, how you've touched somebody at the end of the day. And it kind of fascinated me, the progression that, you know, you look at, say, finishing concrete, which I did before I got into car audio and before I got into the restaurant industry. Like, every one of those would take so much time that in, you know, when you go and pour a driveway or a foundation or whatever it is you're doing, that's probably all day. You got one, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you get into the car audio industry, and sometimes you work on a huge system, and maybe that takes a week or two. But some days you might put in a stereo head unit and a couple of speakers on 3, 4, 5, 8 cars, and now you have all of these people.
Sure.
And now I'm in the restaurant industry where it's hundreds of people a day that I get to touch and impact in some capacity. So it's really been sort of fascinating that I didn't really have any thought about doing that on the front side. It's all been a realization on the back side of, this is just a wonderful piece of life.
Yeah.
And what I get to do every day. You know, maybe it's a little smaller, like, you know, that meal that you have, you might remember it for a long time, hopefully, that's the goal, but, you know, you very well may not, versus, you know, you do a big audio system for somebody, they might have that car for 15 years.
Sure.
So the time is a little bit different, all that sort of stuff, but, you know.
It sounds like what the people who benefit from the work that you do, what they experience, is really important.
Absolutely.
It's not just you finishing, you know, wiping your hands of it, submitting an invoice or whatever it is, but what are they experiencing is super important.
100%.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. You know, again, I think a progression of the journey. When I got into the culinary industry, from the back of house standpoint, becoming a chef and trying to figure out, you know, what did I want to do? And coming out of culinary school, it was, you know, I'm going to have a restaurant in 5 years. That's my goal. Didn't know what kind, didn't know where. No idea, right?
Good to have goals.
Good to have goals, right? Yeah, broad goals. Right. So, you know, just kind of I think being aware, being open to what opportunities come in front of you, and being able to seize those in the moment is a wonderful thing in life. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how all of this started with Trails End. I was working at Daniel's Broiler right out of culinary school.
Wow.
And Seattle Golf Club at the same time.
Sure.
And then starting at what was at the time Snohomish Beer and Wine. So, you know, changed careers, huge drop in pay, all that sort of stuff. You got to make it up in hours, and just started the grind. Had so much fun doing that. Got to you know, express myself through the style of food that I like to cook, and it was well received in Snohomish, and so that, you know, that felt great.
Oh, you bet.
And then, gosh, we grew so much in our first year that 12 months in, we sat down and had a conversation about expanding and decided that was where we were going to go. So 5 months later, construction was complete, and we opened as Trails End.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, I bet.
To say the least.
I bet. So you've mentioned it, a couple industry terms: front of house, back of house, and then of course there's ownership and management, right? And you've experienced all of it. You worked in front of the house. Talk a little bit about those three distinct areas, and then how you stay connected. Because if what's important to you is what your customers experience, I could see where you could get a little isolated away from that, and not as connected to what your customers are experiencing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have guests. We don't have customers.
Very good. Love that.
That's one of our motivational factors. Is would you want this, if it's your family, if it's your grandmother coming in, whether it's back of house or front of house, is this the food you want to serve to that person, or is that the way you want to be treated? When you're talking to your server at the table.
Sure.
Trying to keep that very, very real and give some good perspective on it. I've always been tried to stay out of the limelight and let my people shine, let them do what they're great at. I'm actually not very good out on the floor.
But you've done it, right?
Well, technically, I've never been a server.
Okay.
No, it's all been just going out and talking to our guests, and occasionally, especially during COVID, like, yeah, we're supporting. I got to go out and take some orders and ring in some food, run some food, whatever it is.
Yes.
But really, I've been back of house, back of house centric, and there's a lot of times there's personality types that go along with that.
That's where I was going to go next. Yeah. Because there are. I mean, there's people that really shine when they're customer facing, and then those who really shine when they don't have to interact so much with the customer, but they're really heads down preparing what we see on the plate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's that's always kind of been me. It's just fascinated with that fabrication, that construction.
Yeah.
To put that stuff together and the science behind cooking. But over the years, my fulfillment has come more and more from the opportunities that I get to present to people, growth opportunities, working there, learning. I feel like a lot of younger folks don't know how to cook. Such a valuable life skill. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That applies to everybody.
I agree.
Everybody's heart is through their stomach.
I agree. Well, and there's some magic too with breaking bread together.
Oh,
right?
100%.
If you have a disagreement with someone and you really want to do your part to repair that relationship, there's nothing like sitting down with something to eat and talking about where you've been, what your perspective is, and really getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody showed that better than Anthony Bourdain, in his show No Reservations and some of the stuff that he did over the years. He's got some of the most memorable quotes,
right?
And it all has to do with that. But think how wonderful of an opportunity to travel the world and get to experience all of those cultures all through food and drink.
Sure.
It's just like, that's a dream right there for just about anybody.
Yeah. So you mentioned culture.
Mm-hmm.
Cultures have different foods, right? You've probably enjoyed a lot of different types, but yet you settled or chose, probably a better word, you chose really a comfortable, casual dining experience, at least for Trails End, but then a high-end experience with John's Grill over in Mulkilteo. So talk about Trails End, kind of the how you got to where that is today, and then John's Grill.
Well, comfort is really where it comes from.
Sure.
Being an athlete, I suppose, in my younger days, I ate a lot. A lot of food.
Need the calories.
Lot of calories,
yeah.
Yep. A lot of carbs, a lot of protein. And so through all of that, it was just the style of cooking that I've always enjoyed, or I guess more the style of eating that I've always enjoyed.
Sure.
You know, of course, as we slow down, you got to change that a little bit. But can't eat a whole pizza anymore.
Fact.
Yeah. But yeah, just being really flavorful.
Yes.
And you know, going with the things that kind of strike those core memories for a lot of people, whether that be a pork chop or a meatloaf or
Yeah.
you know, your spaghetti and meatballs. I mean, you name it. Those, you know, you look at our menu, and it's really a lot of those types of items that
Right.
that speak to people.
Right.
You know, at least that's what I believe.
I believe too. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's you know, I think if someone were to look at it from a business perspective, I'm going to open a restaurant from a purely business perspective. How do you argue with pizza? Right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But yet you chose at Trail's End more of the pork chops and the potatoes and dishes like that, meatballs. Why? Why did you do that?
You know, as a chef, we're a pretty arrogant bunch, to be honest with you.
I love it. I love it.
You know, and I think almost every chef out there says, "Well, I want to make what I want to make." You know?
Yes.
And everybody has their various reasons for that.
Sure.
For me, one of my favorite things to this day is when somebody says, "I don't like mushrooms," or "I don't like pork chops," or "I don't like," man, give me a challenge. I will find a way.
You bet.
Will like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've had to do that with myself.
Sure.
Plenty of times. You know, it's not really my favorite thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat it until you like it. Sound like my parents there, but
But no. so I've taken some time to partly because I've got a foodie living in my house.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest son just loves to, you know, put this mishmash of flavors together, flavors and textures and tenderness and juiciness, and put that together and present us with something that it's got some ingredients for sure that I would certainly turn my nose up at, but when you put it all together, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I've experienced the same thing at Trail's End. I tend to order the same thing every time, but when I've come to Trail's End, I've ventured off into some of these areas, and I got to again Friday at the event that we had. Those bacon wrapped dates, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, right? Yeah. So, and then everything that that you guys prepared for us was incredible, but it had individual ingredients that I would not have selected, or if I had seen that they were part of a dish, especially a major part of a dish, I wouldn't order.
Yeah.
So you nailed it as far as I was concerned. Our guests got to try a range of what it is that you guys do in a catered experience, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Right? So
Lovely.
That's what I want anybody who's listening to this podcast to really take away is come and visit you guys. Get off the beaten path that you really normally go down, and try something that you wouldn't otherwise try.
Absolutely.
And goodness sakes, hands down, they're going to enjoy that. I think that was wonderful. So that's the reason why I asked why you chose that as compared to, you know, this tried and true business look at a restaurant in a pizza pie or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of evolution with that. You know, obviously starting out with the chef's arrogance, and how you want to make people happy, but you know, at Trail's End, we really started out asking the community what they wanted.
Sure.
You know? Not as much from a food standpoint right off the bat. Like, hey, you got to come up with some kind of initial offering, right? But then how do we tailor that to what's really going to sell? And that's where the sales part of it comes into play, is literally just asking folks in the community, hey, what makes you want to go out? What is it that gets you off the couch? Mm-hmm. What is it that motivates you enough to not cook at home, or, you know, change your mind from having that frozen dinner, whatever it is you were going to do because you're feeling tired, to, oh man, I have got to go and get this food item. You know, especially over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, as costs have gone up so tremendously, it's been the piece that you kind of revisit time and time again to stay true to yourself, because you know that at the end of the day you have to continue to raise your prices. As a restaurateur, we never want to do that.
No, of course
You
not.
know?
Right. Really, no business owner wants to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we look at that and we start to argue with ourselves, like, man, this is expensive.
Yeah.
You know, are we providing the right value for our guests to be able to come out and do that? And I think the most important thing is to go back through and eat your menu.
Yeah.
You know, try that. See, how does that make me feel when I eat that? And is it worth what I got to pay for it?
Sure. Sure.
You know, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Is, am I providing a value for my guests that walk in the door? Are they leaving with that feeling that, man, that was worth every penny?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So we fight for that every day.
Love that. Yeah, love that.
You know,
So,
I'll even say, you know, you're asking a little bit about John's and how
Yeah.
the difference there. I would really say that it isn't different. It's the same food. You know, it's the same ingredients in a lot of ways, presented differently.
okay.
And it's again, it comes down to the experience.
Sure.
Right? So if I want people to come in there feeling comfortable in their boots and come up to the bar and grab a burger and a beer, whatever makes you happy. You know, we're always happy to have everybody that wants to walk in the door. But our guests in general have looked at John's as being a little bit more romantic or intimate type of a place.
Sure.
And so they want the food to match that, the environment in there, the service in there, all of those things.
Yeah. Well, Teresa and I went and had a great time. Had the crab cakes and filet, and it was the best meal. It was just awesome.
Love it.
And the service was, well, the service at both, when we've experienced it, has been just fantastic. But it's like there was a little extra care, a little more interest in us personally by the server at John's. She was fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, really a great experience.
Fantastic.
So,
Glad to hear that.
One of the things that I find entrepreneurs share is the need to be able to, thrive in chaos, right? And as we're new at it, we're not very elegant at it. But we do kind of we start to put in place these building blocks of habits and this, that, and the other. I've noticed when I've seen you as you're interacting with your team and everyone that I've ever witnessed just has, there's real care in your approach to them. Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, because having done everything that you've done and this range of different experiences, and then deciding, boy, I'm going to do something in food service, and then being, a little bit isolated, a little bit in the back of the house as compared to the front of the house. Talk a little bit about that, because I think it appears to me anyway that you approach it with a certain perspective. And what is that perspective?
Gosh, I don't know if I could really define it, other than kind of through examples. In the back of house, oftentimes it's people that don't necessarily communicate well. In the general public per se, whether you're shy and you just choose not to, or maybe you just think a little differently. We always used to joke that we're just a bunch of misfits back there, but we're a family.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that we're really misfits. There's plenty of that too, but
of course.
When you're back there, you go from a group of people that can barely talk to another person out in public to this symphony of communication it does. It's not the same as, you know, digging in emotionally and all that sort of stuff. But all of a sudden, you have this going on a Friday or Saturday night when you're feeding hundreds and hundreds of people, and everybody's communicating back there. You've got this dance going on, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch. And you realize that, you know, that you're going to war with your band of brothers, so to speak.
Sure.
You know, and it's all for a great cause.
Yep.
You know, you don't get the recognition of the guests very often. You don't get to see the look on their face, but you know it. You know that they're having a good time. You're so proud of not having any food come back. You know, nothing was messed up at the end of the day when you've cooked 300 steaks or whatever it may be. You know, huge point of pride in that. And so you develop these bonds with people, and they're incredibly strong.
Yeah.
You know, and really the same is true in the front of house. You know, the only difference is the natural communication skills that those servers tend to have, and the managers out there on the floor. But the same thing really applies. You know, you're not successful by yourself.
No.
You never will be. It takes you know, your hosts and your bussers and your dishwashers and even your section mates when you're out there on the floor helping bus those tables and checking in on your guests. You never know when you're going to get tied up or, you know, doing your potty dance for the last 4 hours and you just got to take a break.
Can I have 5 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. You know, watch my tables, help them out. You know, the communication is just incredible to see. You just love it.
You know, you mentioned symphony, and that's really what a great word, right?
Yeah.
When just two people, are working together, and it's, you know, a complementary back and forth, really productive, really energizing, life-giving, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But when you have multiples of that, all doing the same thing, relying on and trusting in them doing the best job that they can do at whatever it is that they're doing,
Yeah.
it is a symphony.
Yeah.
As we wind down our time together, if you could meet anyone, literally anyone, you mentioned Anthony a little bit ago, if you could meet anyone, have a conversation with them for 30 minutes or so,
Yeah.
who would that be?
Boy, that is tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of incredible people out there. You know, I was thinking about this on my drive this morning. That's funny because that was probably the one question that you had sent me that I kind of zeroed in on, trying to think about that because it might be the toughest one to answer.
You bet.
But, you know, I think Anthony Bourdain would definitely be high on that list. You know, I thought about like Michael Jordan, for instance, what an incredible athlete.
You bet.
And motivated person. Then I actually kind of pulled that one away thinking, you know, he's not the greatest teammate necessarily.
Sure. Sure.
Interesting that you can be the greatest individual in a sport and in a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it involves some incredible work and sacrifice that you do. Not to say he was a bad teammate by any means or any of that.
No, he made his team better. He made his teammates better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be another fascinating person to work with. And then I think Pete Carroll. Honestly, that might be my final answer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So
trying to find somebody that's been through a lot of different challenges in life, and I don't know if you've ever read his book, Win Forever. To be able to stay incredibly positive all the time, even that's not the right way to put it. You know, you're not incredibly positive all the time. You're real.
Sure.
And you accept the challenges and the problems that are in front of you, and figure out what can I learn from it.
Yeah.
You know, not just how can I get past it,
Yeah.
but how can I take this challenge, this problem, and weave it into the fabric of who I am, and come out better for it.
You know, some would say Russell Wilson is incredibly positive all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but they question his authenticity.
Right.
Where they don't do that with Pete.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen and what I've read about Pete. what you get in Pete Carroll is real. It's authentic. It's who he is. He's that all the time, regardless of what's going on around him. And so I think that's an excellent choice. Looking back, you've been doing this now for a while. You've got this team. You've got these 2 amazing restaurants making incredible food. Looking back to an 18-year-old Chris, right? Knowing what you know today, what advice would you give yourself?
Man,
I mean, we've all got things that we'd have done differently. Maybe even got some things that, man, I wish I hadn't done that. But
it's a long list.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we fail forward, I think,
Right, right.
But what advice would you want to hear?
I would probably say, it does sound kind of cliche, but to just stay true to that. You know, stay true to your heart.
Sure.
Be the person that you envision yourself being.
Yep.
I think a lot of those outside influences can really poorly influence you in a lot of different ways, and we all have the opportunity to come back around, and I feel like that's the direction that I've gone in my life, is to really rediscover who I am and what's important to me. Just wish I hadn't wasted time in between,
That's pretty good, coming from someone who it doesn't look like you wasted very much time.
I try to make up for it now.
Oh, there we go. Oh, that's awesome. Well, very good.
Yeah, a lot of just a lot of fun in life.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities out there every day to just find something to be grateful for. The opportunities that we have, the people that we surround ourselves with, nice weather that we don't get often enough around here.
Yeah.
Living in such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Having every time I ever considered moving to somewhere else, I stop and think about, like, what do we have right here?
Oh, you bet.
We've got incredible seafood, incredible boating, skiing, hiking, world-class food, incredible sports. I mean, you name it. We're so spoiled here.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
It's true. It really is true.
Yeah.
And then we get weather like we've had the last couple of weeks, and I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have friends that I'll talk to all across the country, and if they'll ask me, hey, is it raining up there? I always say, yep, it's raining. It's awful.
You just stay
Right?
here.
That's exactly right. Traffic's a big enough challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very good.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
found
sure
myself- Go ahead.
I want to say thank you so much, coming in, sitting down, visiting with me a little bit, and sharing a little bit of yourself with us, so we can share it with the people that follow this. We want to bring people on that we think really add to the community that we've got here, and it's people like you and what you do and the team that you've built, and the contribution that you make to our community that makes Snohomish a great place to live, work, and raise a family. So
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you helping get me out of my shell and making me get out front, talk to people a little bit more, be a little more uncomfortable from time to time.
we love it. Thanks again for coming in.
Yeah, really pleasure.